I was like, hey, everybody. Our intros are getting really bad, Tony. It's like we're
They're
on the
not.
down the slippery slope.
That's okay. Let's pick it up again. Good morning, Tonia Reeves. How are you? And go on.
Hey,
And you say
everyone.
good. And you say
Yeah.
good morning, TNT community. How are you? Great to have you out there on the wonderful world of Facebook. Going out to a live. Natasha's on board. Hey, Natasha, how you been? What's been happening? Great to have everybody on board. It is a community sort of, I suppose, show. We'll call it a show. It's called TNT Thursdays. If you've somehow accidentally just come along Facebook and you've somehow just discovered this, it's a really cool thing. It's a community of like-minded people with all different journeys in their life. And we're just trying to work out life. And what we do is we try to help each other out, whatever the problems may be. You got Tonia Reeves here, Australian Cowgirl Medium. That's going to change her name next year. Watch this space. We were working on this last year. She's one of the best people and a dear friend, not only to myself, but everybody else on this feed as well. And I've got to say, she's one of the best when she actually connects with spirit, and that's what she does so beautifully. So it's such a great thing. But we don't actually do readings on this show. So, but if you got a problem like, was it Natasha? Not much today, Mark. 7 months from my partner and I. See, that's what I'm talking about, Tash. That's the gold. We're going to talk about how do you sustain a successful relationship for 7 months. And congratulations, Tash. I love it. That's a really good bit of news. Myself, what do I do? Geez, Tonia Reeves, you can tell them what I do. I don't really know what I do. I just talk.
Oh, look, the human repair shop. I mean, I've had so many comments. I shared a photo when I was up there, and everyone was like, wow, what a great name for a business. Like, people were just blown away with, the whole concept of being able to, be repaired as humans. And I think, when you look at your business model, Tony, you're encompassing mind, body, and spirit. And I think that's the power with the human repair shop, is you're really giving people, there's just so many gifts within there for people to be able to repair, body, mind, and soul. And I think, that's really unique. And yeah, I love it. The human repair shop is awesome. If anyone's in Sydney, you just got to go and knock on the door and get Tony to give you a tour. Like, it is fully amazing. Like, the bays are great. You've got repair areas. You've got, like, it's really awesome. It's just got such a great vibe that you just want to hang out there, really. Like, if I was closer, I'd just pull up and get in that waiting room and just sit there and, watch the world go around. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ton. That's beautiful feedback. Thank you so much. And I agree with Tonia. If you're in the area, let us know. Jen's on board, Anita's on board, which is fantastic. Tasha's putting out there, she's letting us know how do we make a relationship successful. And she's had a beautiful relationship, a really nice person too, by the way, Tash. You've been through a lot in the last 12 months. Your journey's had, like all of us, ups and downs, but yours has definitely had a little bit more sadness in there, with people passing away and whatnot. So it's really nice to hear. And she goes, here you go, work together, I found, is a big part of a successful relationship. It's really interesting that Tash puts that out there, like working together. I think, sometimes when we're single for a little while, then we go back into a relationship, and I'd be interested to know what people think, and including yourself. And I'm a victim of this as well. When you go into a relationship, you like to go in very strong and very like, I'm independent and I can look after myself and hold my own weight and blah, blah, blah. And you don't really let that other person in there. You don't have that sense of vulnerability, which allows them to come in too much. But Tasha said here where, it's just being working together, which means that there's a high level of vulnerability there to one another. So I wonder, how long does it take us to become vulnerable in a relationship? Like, what did you find, Tom? Because I'm shit at it. I'm really.
Look, it takes a good partner, is what I think. Find a good partner, and then it comes out naturally. Like, there's no perfect kind of antidote to it, though, is there? It's kind of, each relationship that you have is varied depending on the other person. And it is it's an interesting, it's interesting to dig deep with it, Tony. And I was noticing, we started watching the show where the kids match up the parents, the one that the parents are, it's a show on telly. It's quite funny. And the kids nominate their parents. So they're older couples coming together, and sort of dating kind of thing.
Oh,
And
okay.
they're in this house together. And, it's really interesting to hear the language. And I'm just lost the point I was getting to.
Sound like it was pretty
We talk
profound.
about relationships, yeah, and
Yep.
it's really fascinating to hear their different versions and
Mm-hmm.
what they've experienced and how they've come out the other side. Being single, some of them had lost partners through death, some through infidelity. Like, it was just pretty crazy to put all these people together, and then you're starting to get their feedback on things. And I think sometimes when you hear others in the same situation, it really cements to you what, how you feel about that connection. But one of the things, getting back to now, I remember a lot of the women had put, one of their things was feeling safe with somebody.
Yep.
That was a big one that just kept coming up. I want to feel safe with somebody. And I thought it was just interesting. Out of, I don't know, there might be 6 or 7 women there. And, over 50% were like, when they said, what's your ideal partner look like? Or what do you want in a partner? And it was that underlying, you heard that repeated, I want to feel safe with somebody. And I thought
Yeah, I like to find a woman that just likes the funny guy, because unsafe at times with the jokes you could come up with.
risky.
But it's quite true. Look, the biggest thing is, okay, because if we break that down, you're right, you're pretty spot on, Tonia, because a woman wants to feel safe, basically, absolutely, because they know a man is stronger and has the ability to kill you with his own bare hands like that. So that's a thing, but also to be safe, as in protected against the rest of the world. For a guy, what it is to be accepted for who he is. And the flip side of that is the biggest fear that a male has is that he'll be laughed at for who he is. That's the biggest fear that we have. So females have the biggest fear. Yeah, I don't want to die. I want to be safe.
Yes.
We have don't ridicule me. Don't laugh at me. It's really that's what they've broken it down to. Basic psychology. It really is good to know these things. Yeah. It is really good. So tell me, what else is going out there on the world? Here you go. Oh, we've gone into star signs already with Tash coming up. I've also Googled. Well, if you've Googled it, Tash, it's got to be true. It's
right. We will go with that, Tash.
Yeah. Go for it. You want to read it out?
I also Googled Gemini and Libra is very compatible. We've only been in this relationship for 7 months, but we have commitment rings, and I couldn't be happier.
Oh, wow.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah, that's so cool. That I like the idea of commitment rings. That's pretty good. It's a nice. It's very symbolic, isn't it? And it's sort of like it gives you comfort within the relationship, I suppose. Tash, a bit of security there. Go, yeah, you know what? We are committed. We and that's how we're going to roll. That's a beautiful thing. That's a really nice thing.
And I think your comment too, Tony, about having fun. I think sometimes, but it becomes a bit serious, and the whole dating thing, and I haven't been on the dating scene for a long time, but I think sometimes we can take ourselves too seriously and just not embrace that sense of fun with it.
Yeah, look, I think that's a really important thing. It's something you got to plan for as well, and have that fun factor. And I think we forget that all of a sudden. But yeah, it is pretty important. I'm lucky Ola's pretty good at saying, oh, let's go to this show, let's go to that show, or let's go do this, that, the other. She's much better than I am. I'm terrible, Tonia. I'm like...
At least you admit it. I think
I know.
Suck at many things, but own it.
Yeah, I know. And when Ola does book something, I think, far out, what a genius. And then I think to myself, I go, why don't I think like that? And then the other part of my brain goes, because you're dumb. You're just lazy. You got no idea. And then I go, oh, okay, I get it now. And then I go back to, geez, she's a genius. And I have real appreciation for her because she's a genius.
So Jen's got a good share here. Hubby and I have been together 16.5 years. We just work. We rarely fight or argue. Well, I do, and he stays silent.
Yeah.
We don't stop each other from doing things independently. We are both Libras. Okay, yeah, awesome. Okay. I believe we are past life loves. So there's a really strong connection there, Jen.
That's tell me more about that, Jen. Why do you reckon that you are past connections? I'm interested in that. Like, Yeah, explain yourself. I'm not doubting it. I'm not being the skeptic here, Jen. I'm taking off my. This is more curiosity and
The
intrigue.
Virgo mind's
No,
going, hang on,
no.
back this up with a bit of evidence.
Because
Jen.
sometimes, you know what it's like, Tonia? You have a connection with somebody and you're trying to work out why is that connection there, and it requires no effort almost. And a beautiful justification is there's a past life relationship there of some sort. And I'd just like to know how Jen has come up with that. Jen, I'm not digging a hole here, Jen. I'm not. I'm curious.
Jen will come back. She's great. She'll have something clever to share with you, Tony, no doubt. Anita's got a great one here. I've been engaged since 1995 and personally don't need the certificate as confirmation. I like to call it living in sin. I relate to this comment, Anita,
Really?
because my partner, like Andrew, is very much, he likes the whole marriage thing. And, I've done it once before. He's done it once before. Yep. And I was like, I don't really need to be married to really wouldn't make a difference to me. But I also love the idea of being 70 and say, that's my boyfriend over there.
Okay. Yep. Cool. Yep. Yep. So, why not?
Yeah. I'm like, let's, I'm with you, Anita. Like, let's get creative and have a bit of fun. And it's not to say I wouldn't, I know it's probably more important for Andrew than me. And I don't necessarily, I'm happy to, I would probably concede if that's what he really, really wanted. But for the time being, it's like, I want to have an old boyfriend over there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I like that. It really is quite interesting. Anita, I love how you've posted that. That's a really cool share. Because it sounds like you are both mature enough in the sense where emotionally mature enough where you go, this is my partner, this is how we roll. We don't need the certification of confirmation, as you put it, by society. You just go, cool, we'll write our own rules, we're together. And that's how we roll. And I really like that. I really like that a lot. And same with yourself, Tonia. You've got that emotional maturity to say, yep, that's where it is. We're not children. We don't need it to be signed off. And that's cool. Nice way of, I like the philosophy, Anita. Thanks for sharing that. Avichka, how are you this morning? Good to see you on board. We're talking about, I don't know how we got onto relationships, Avichka. Oh, that's right. Tash told us that she's happy after 7 months. And that's a beautiful thing. And we're trying to work out how to sustain a great relationship. We have you've got the ultimate glue here for a relationship, Anita. Death, dogs, and kids. That's the super glue that's going to keep you together, my friend.
I love it. That's hilarious.
Yeah. That was pretty cool. What's Avich got?
Avichka's put in here, Wayne and I'll be celebrating 13 years married, 15 years together next week. I'm still very much in love with him, but he drives me crazy. I think it goes hand in hand, Avichka. You can't have one without the other. It's yin and yang, as I know I do too. We're good for each other. Absolutely. And I often will share that when I do readings. A great connection does not mean that it has to be all smooth sailing and no arguments and that kind of thing, because sometimes people have this perception that that's a perfect relationship. And I'm like, not always. Like,
Your Honor, I'd like to plead guilty to that charge.
It's true, isn't it? Though we think,
my God,
I think this is my soul connection. And then the next minute, I want to not punch them up, but like figuratively speaking, I want to kill them today.
We've talked about the pillow thing, right? Yeah. Look, I suffered from that, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. I used to say I was the most successful person when it came to dating because I had so many of them. Now, which is not what you want to be saying, but I was. Here we go, confession box, and don't tell anybody else. This whatever's said on this feed publicly, globally, stays in this room, okay, ladies and gents.
Hola, where are you?
No. I used to have this thing where as soon as there was a crack in the relationship, I thought, oh, well, this is over. This is it. It's not utopia. That's not. And I used to walk. It was terrible. Ladies and gentlemen, this is 25 years ago. I've evolved from then. Okay, I've evolved. I've improved. Let's not just. But it's funny. I wonder if anybody else has suffered from that too. Like you just go this. Oh my God, we're not living happily ever after. So we might as well call it quits now. And yeah, not good. I'm glad I got that off my chest. Thanks, guys. Great, safe group. Love to hear. Let's just move on. Sam's got something lovely. What is she?
I'm happy dating myself unless or until my needle in a haystack guy arrives. My list is flowchart style questions, answers to be classified as garbage or gold. I love it, Sam.
Oh, Sam, I'm just imagining you with your chart. He goes, does he like dogs? And it goes down to the yes box. And the yes box says, does he take it for a walk 3 times a week? Yes box again. And then it keeps on going down and down. And then you go, okay, perfect match. And then there'll be like this bit where there's a no. But, you know, look, Sam, I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing because I think sometimes, and it comes down to law of attraction once again, it is looking for the right person. And I think to have that put down, as we've spoken before, you'll start to attract what you put out there.
Absolutely. And I also think everything's a reflection. And, you know, I was chatting to a girl the other day, like didn't know her really well, but we just got chatting, and she, you know, has been looking for that relationship. And she said, oh, it's so hard. You know, she's probably close to my age. And she said, it's such a struggle because you're swiping online, and she said they don't look like their photo, or, you know, trying to navigate that. And I was like, my God, that's massive. But we broke it down a bit with her because she would attract men that are unavailable, like totally, like she was keen on them, but they'd date a few times and disappear.
I've met a few girls like that, Tonia, where they're just keen on a fella.
Yeah. Well, it was like,
but any fella in the room, not just one. Heaps.
That's right.
Well, that's not a good strategy, love. Let's change that one.
This was fascinating because we kind of unpacked it and went, okay, if we look at there was a couple of ways you could look at it, but one of them was, why was she going for the ones that were ultimately going to reject her? Like, it was like she was setting herself up to fail. And not consciously, but subconsciously, there was something in her that was saying either I'm not good enough, I don't believe I deserve to have a good relationship. You know, it was really, and we sort of unpacked it a bit, because initially it was like, why are you attracting these unavailable men? You know, like, and sometimes, and in her case, it was quite subconscious. But, you know, you could dismiss it and go, oh, all men are like that, and I'm just having a shit run or whatever. But when you start to unpack that, what you attract is, you know, you take that responsibility for it, you can start to then see where the barriers are. And it was just really fascinating to, by the end of our conversation, she was like, oh my God. Like, and it was only
so she had a bit of an epiphany.
You know, two people having a chat. And, you know, there's so much there. But I think when we take responsibility for who we attract, and our relationships are our biggest, you know, we spend the most time with that person that we're with. And that will tell you a lot about somebody, is the, you know, who they are hanging out with.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. There's some really good chats there coming up at the moment. And Tony Ann comes on, Avicii comes on, and Jen's got a cracker. She explains, and we'll go, because this is seriously, it's like we're part of one big happy family. You know, when there's different conversations going across the table. Welcome to TNT Thursdays. We've got different conversations going on all over the place. We just got to put up. Jen, the question was asked, Tony Ann, if you've just joined in, the question was, Jen reckons she's got a past life connection with her partner, with her current partner at the moment. And I was going, how do you know that? Like, what were the things for you? So this is, Jen, thanks for sharing this. This is such a cool, I was reading it whilst Tonia was going. Do you want to go for it, Ton? Do you want to read it out? So I like this a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. So get ready, Tony. Buckle up for this one.
Buckle up.
I love it, Jen. We were married in a past life. When we first got together, I could see him in royal blue robes, and he was a king and would go to battle with his army. I could see it, smell the fire burning, etc. I died in childbirth, and he vowed and declared he would find me again, and he did. I am 16 years older than he is. There is a sense of knowing and home. The connection we have is so strong. We can have a conversation without talking. I used to send him a shopping list without using text. That's pretty cool. I love that.
I think that's pretty good. The last bit, geez, he just
telepathy.
Does he just buy one of everything in the supermarket and hope that that's what he had to buy? But I like it. Wait, can I just go back to Jen? Jen, thanks for sharing. I like this one. I'm like, look. It's one of those. What's it called when you do this? Is this what's it called? The therapy that you do, is it a childhood regression, or what is it when they
Past, yeah, I'd say a past life regression though is what.
is that what it is?
Yeah,
Is when you go into it. Jen, did you go into a meditation, or did you go to a fortune teller or a psychic to get that? Or was there a vision that you had? It is quite interesting how these kind of, because now it makes sense for Jen why there's this connection, because she's got some logic behind it, or some evidence behind it, into what brings it on board, instead of this going, why do we get along? What do we go on? I like these stories. Thanks for sharing. That is, I'd like to know, Jen, I'd like to know some more, please. Only if you want to. You don't have to. I appreciate what you've shared already. Here you go. Tony Ann's on board. Go on.
Yeah, so Tony Ann's put, hi guys, I was like you, Tony, one disagreement and I'm off. I asked a friend once, how do you know when it's worth getting past the fight? And she said, you just know. And you do. One day you meet someone you don't want to let go of, you want to forgive, you want to get past the things with. That's pretty cool. So that person.
Tony Ann. You go on, you were going to say?
Yeah, sorry. So Tony Ann sort of sharing that there's kind of that knowing, and that I suppose you make that decision, Tony Ann, that you can be safely vulnerable with that person. Yeah. Is what I believe she's saying in that.
Here you go, Tony Ann. I'm going to ask you a question. I love. You made me laugh a lot on this one, Tony Ann. You cracked me out. It was like one disagreement and I'm off. And I go, yeah. Give me, Tony Ann, give me half a disagreement. No, I totally get it. Do you know what, Tony Ann? I used to think this, and I don't know if you're the same, but growing up in our household, we never ever saw mum and dad argue. They always kept that behind closed doors. We were like that episode of The Simpsons where the kids, Bart and Lisa, were sent to the car and there was Mexican music going on in the background. And it was because Marge and Homer were arguing inside. And Lisa goes, oh, the chill goes down my spine every time I hear that Mexican music. So I know mum and dad are arguing somewhere, but they were sheltered from it, right? And I think that was sort of like Tony, and that's what I was brought up. So when I had my first argument with a girlfriend, I go, my thing was, oh, it must be over. You know, that's it, because I never saw mum and dad do it. And it was funny when mum and dad got divorced, there was no argument leading up to it. It was just a statement by dad that he's leaving mum, and that was it. And me and my sisters went, whoa, we didn't see that shit happening. What happened there? So I don't know if you had a similar sort of upbringing, Tony Ann, because I think sometimes that's a factor. Not to blame your parents, but Tony Ann, let's blame our parents for our perfect image that we should have of our partner. But I like the bottom bit of this, Tony Ann, where, sometimes I think there's that one person that gets you. I think that's what it is, Tony Ann. Somebody gets you, and then you know it's worth fighting for. And I think that could be unpacked for hours, Tony. Tony Ann, you and I should have our own session together. I think we'll nail it at the end.
I love it. Love it. Yeah. I'm going to bring up, this is funny, Tash. Tash has shared that she met her partner through a singles site on Facebook, which nice. These are really cool things. It's great to get that feedback. Now I've got Jen, I've got everyone up except for the one that I was looking for.
Avitchka's got, wow. I know I had a knowing of Wayne when I met him. Yes, we've also had a past life together. Avitchka, you can't jump on board because Jen had a cool story. Now all of a sudden you've got a past life with Wayne. But seriously, if you do, tell me about it. I want to, if you've got a similar story like Jen's, but not the same, you can't copy and paste Jen's answer, okay? But I'd like to know how it came to you. Was it, what happened? What were the signs? What were the symbols? Whatever it may be. I love that kind of stuff. It just makes you feel a little bit more grounded, a little bit more connected. You were going to say... you can
read out Sam's, Tony.
Sam, I haven't tried online dating. From experiences, I've heard there's many wombats. Eats roots and leaves type. Sam... You make me chuckle, Sam, I've got to say. Look, it's one of those things, Sam. I think, I don't know. You answer this, Tonia. I'm a male. Why do people ask me this stuff? You're the female. You guys are a lot more intelligent. Why? You know what, Sam? I'm just going to realize I have to read it out for you guys to play it out. There you go. I've read it out. You guys play that out. Sorry, Sam, for just forgetting who I was.
I would unpack that, Sam, and go like the feedback that if you're constantly, whether it's online or whatever, if you're meeting the wombats, then are you protecting yourself? Are you blocking yourself? So to keep yourself safe, you're meeting that type because it's a transactional kind of, arrangement, isn't it? And that's what, to me, I would look at and go, if you're attracting that, then there's a part of you that needs a bit of working on.
I don't know. You tripped over your feet on that one, Tonia.
No, I don't reckon.
I think you rehashed the same answer that you said before.
It all comes back to us. It all comes back to us. We have to take responsibility. That's
look,
anyway.
It is. But it's a nerve-wracking thing as well. I totally get it. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves with online dating where we're very attached to the outcome, which is this going to be a relationship that's going to last forever? Is it my soulmate? Is it blah, 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 blah? And it's one of those things, when you're ready, Sam, you'll decide which way to go. But don't forget, you can't attract a partner by sitting around the couch and doing nothing either. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to proactively go and do it. So I get what you're saying, and I get but yeah, that's. But look at Tashi. She's met the love of her life on a Facebook feed. Jen here. Jen puts up some very interesting facts here. I've had 269 lives. When I found out, I said, no wonder I'm always tired. 269. Who was he counting on that one? Avishka goes, I'm a very old soul. I'm pretty tired too. I remember my mum said something like, you spiritual folk, correct me on this, that you have something like 700 odd lives here on planet Earth before you evolve to something else. Is that true? Has anybody else? Tony Ann, where are you? You've got numbers. Is that true? Are we destined to have X amount of lives here and then we go on elsewhere? I don't know.
I think everyone's different. Everyone's case is different. So
I hope mine's is one.
Yeah. I feel like, you often hear it, and I often share that when I'm doing readings. There's life lessons that we're here for. So when we get a bit of an understanding of that and we go, okay, what lessons or, what challenges am I being shown throughout my life that I need to navigate?
Yeah, and I agree with that. I think it's a good way to...
Another confirmation of that is you'll often hear people when they get to the end of their life or say, they know that they're sort of in that final phase, that they'll say, I don't want to come back and learn that lesson. So I'm going to learn it now. It kind of becomes a bit of an urgent thing for them. I need to learn that lesson and do that because I'm not coming back and learning it again. And you hear it so often that I'm just like, there's way more to that than we even can start to understand.
Oh, okay. Yep. Jen puts back asking, how did she get these premonitions that she was with her partner in a past life? This is her PG version of her answer. She goes, none of those. It was the first night we were together. Not telling you anymore, Tony. PG version. I was like, we were back there. Wow. That's, ladies and gentlemen, allow your imaginations to flow freely on Jen's last comment.
And Tony's just left the building, okay? So we're going to have to pick up the slack. He's like, he's over. His mind is going, hang on a minute.
Yep. No, I've still got that. Don't forget, it's just a tin can in the squash court, just about ding, ding, ding. It's not much here, ladies and gentlemen. Rich has got, how do you find out how many past lives you've had? I would like to know. Yeah, same here, Avishka. I think maybe Tonia's had a good guess. You don't know. Is there a certain number? I'm not too sure.
Look, I think you do a regression with a great past life therapist. That's to me, if you really wanted to delve into that. It's not my area of expertise.
You know what shits me? And this is no offense on yours. Freaking everybody says, every psychic says, oh, you were a king or a queen in your past life. And I fucking no, I wasn't. I was mostly the butcher, or I was the guy as a farmer. Yeah, like everybody's a king and a queen. I'm thinking, who the hell built the houses? Who plowed the fields? I want to. I just have that one. So I go, oh, you had a hard life. You're a farmer. You're a peach farmer, and it didn't work out for you too well. You
You're a
went
peasant.
bankrupt a few times. You're a peasant. I want to know. I was a slave. Like, give me something where I'm not a king. Apparently, I remember somebody said I was a pharaoh of some sort in Egypt. I'm going, dude, who built the pyramids? Like, I want to. I want to know, like, were we all kings and everything like that? That's my rant on past lives. I love them. It's beautiful spirit. There's a connection there. I understand. We're kings
Maybe
and
that's
queens
the
in a
best,
past
know, maybe that's about, telling people the positives. And if you're a peasant, they might not bring that up in their conversation.
You know what? It would make sense if I was a tight ass. I sort of like would go, oh yeah, well, in my past life, I was a peasant. We didn't have much going around. I was like, bit of scarcity there. Like, I get that, Or if I'm the poor person always handing out money, thinking, yeah, well, in my past life I was a billionaire and I used to just shell out money all the time. Poor person now, I still do it though. I don't know why. It's crazy. Don't know how to save to save me life. I want to meet that psychic. Is there one out there? Come on.
We can give you a number. Anyone can give you a number.
Yeah, there you go.
Jen's put in here, Vichka, I've just completed a course where we did emotional codes, etc. And the lady who did it went through past lives with trapped emotions. So that's pretty cool.
There you go. See you,
Vichka. Love that.
And we will tell you.
We've got some really cool shares here, even about relationships and growing up.
Reading that. Anita's one.
Yeah, so Anita's got a great one here. My parents are always fighting, and I would put myself in the middle of them both. Not sure if I did it out of fear or being fearless. I don't fight in my relationship as we are all entitled to our perceptions and opinions, and I just accept what is. So that's a big thing to go in between two people. That's pretty incredible.
That's just somebody who doesn't like fighting, Anita. Do you know what I mean? Like there's somehow, Tonia and everybody, how you've got that innate thing, that one thing that really ticks you off, like really takes you from 0 to 100 of anger in 3 nanoseconds, right? And I think for Anita it would be fighting, like fighting between two. Mine is injustice. That ticks me off like there's no tomorrow. And for all of us, we'll have something, it will be, I don't know. There's that thing, but for you and there's that innate thing now, and that's where it comes back to, Anita. Do you reckon? Here, let's all get past lifey. Well done, Tash, for bringing up relationships and past life. Now, see, Tash, it's a good one to bring up. See what you've done? Beautiful. I love the way you've done it. But is there a possibility where fighting was something in you that was where you said no way, no more, which is really interesting to look into. That's just something that I wanted to say. It's going to move on now.
Interesting. And Tony Ann shared 732 lives for her, and I love it. She's got, I'm a slow learner.
Yeah. But she actually says this, Tony, and I like this one. In contrast, Tony, my parents were super fighters. Wow, isn't that interesting? And I meant violent. I always wanted to be with someone who wasn't violent, so I never did the fight. I wanted different, and by waiting until I'd had healed enough at 40 to create something opposite for my life and relate. That's an interesting one, Tony. And yeah, that makes sense though. You've seen it, you're a part of it, and you go, no way. That's and that's scarring, that stuff, Tony Ann. That's really interesting. So I think I take my hat off to you because you've seen how devastating it is, and you made it that choice. You go, I don't want that. I really don't. Yeah, wow. Thanks for that share, Tony Ann. That's pretty cool. That's very cool.
It is. It's fascinating. And as we know, we love the human psyche, don't we? It's like, let's unpack some stuff. I love it.
Yep, absolutely.
What makes us tick? Learning. There's so much to learn.
I know.
From each other.
Tony Ann, 732 lives. I mean, how many more lives have you got, Tony Ann, do you reckon? Do you know, it's funny though, Tonia, you get told this as well about past life stuff. is like they say, a lot of people say, I don't know why, because that's what they say, especially when I was doing a lot of massage or a lot of counseling, that they said, oh, you come from a healing line, a past line of healers, that's what you've naturally got. And I sort of feel that I can actually use intuition, and I feel very comfortable in the healthcare space. I'll tell you that much. So it's interesting when you say like 732 lives, Tony, and Jen was saying 269, that I think you get really good at stuff over the lifetimes that you have, and it comes a little bit more natural. They talk about it just comes natural to me, and I'm thinking, well, how does it come natural to you? What have you got? How can you explain that? So, yeah.
That's interesting. It is. And we all have a different trajectory, but when you tap into something that you're naturally good at, that's where, often that makes life a bit easier, doesn't it? Because you've got that within your DNA.
Yeah, 100%. Jen goes, everyone's different. She's met somebody with 150 past lives. I'm taking that's what you're talking about there, Jen. Tony Ann, I love this one. I'm a slow learner. I hear you, girl. There used to be this thing, Tony, and that you'd like, there's a bell curve, and it talks about when it talks about sales, and the bell curve goes like this, and it goes up, and there's 10% here, and then there's 80% here, and there's 10% at the end of the bell curve. And they talked about in relation to, let's say, when a new bit of technology comes in, and there's this thing called the early adopters. And the early adopters in that first 10% where they go, oh, there's new technology. I don't know much about it, but I'm willing to take a gamble because I think it'll be really cool. And, it might pay off dividends in the future, and it'll make our lives easier. Once that becomes popular, the rest of the population, 80%, go, well, the nerds tried it out and they said the technology is pretty good, so we feel comfortable to try it, right? And that's it. And there's the late, if we can call them adopters, which they go after the 90% of society have said, this technology is really cool, you should get it. And I feel like, Tony, and I fit into that last 10% where, especially like with TV shows or podcasts or any bits of technology, like I think I'm up to the iPhone 4 where, so talking about being a slow learner, I totally get what you're saying. It takes, sometimes you've got to, it's like a friend that we had that we used to call Computer, and we called him Computer because he had to punch the information in because he was a bit of a slow learner. So totally resonates with that. Don't worry, you're not a slow learner. You like the precision in it. Well, here you go. Vichka's got a good one. Would you like to go with that one? Talking about past lives and how she knows Wayne for 17 lives before this one. It's all right. Get there whenever you're all right. Take your time. We're on a time schedule, are we?
I'm deliberately going slow, Tony, just to...
That's all right, mate. Yep.
Sometimes you just have the feeling that you already know a person, even the first time you meet. An unexpected, unexplainable, strong connection that just feels right, feels safe and intense at the same time. Some call it love at first sight, but I see it as you remembering that love you already knew in past lives. I love that.
I like that. I normally had that feeling with 3 shots of tequila and a beer, and then I meet the woman. I go, oh, wow.
I'm on a winner here.
Mate, I'm getting married to this one. She's special. And she's done the next round. Wow, she's a keeper. But it does go to say that familiarity of somebody. You meet somebody first time, or it feels like, and there's just that familiarity there. And it's unexplainable, as Avichka says. There's got to be something said about that. Do you agree with that, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we're seeing so much evidence of it that it's too hard to just dismiss it as, not reality when when you look at so many people that resonate with that.
Yep, absolutely. Here you go. Now we've got all our psychics coming up saying, yes, they could see me as an Egyptian. Avichka goes, Tony, I could see you as an Egyptian, all in gold. You know what, Avichka, I agree. I reckon I'd be an Egyptian, but I'd be stealing all the gold. I don't know what else I'd be doing. It would be that, or I'd be mining it, one or the other. Jen goes,
I love yes. She's even put the she can see with the dark eyeliner on.
Yeah, that was because I just had really bad sleep patterns. My liver wasn't functioning too well.
I love it. Oh, we've got to have a laugh, don't we? And
Absolutely.
Tony Ann's got a great one here. The best way
Yeah.
is through your own experience, where you regress to your own memories deep within, feel like you're making it up, but it carries when guided through questions. So yeah, I think that's great. And you don't always have to have somebody lead you to a past life. You can just have that resonance.
Yeah,
And
you know, that's enough of you, Tonia. You know what?
I'm off the hook. I'm just here for my looks.
It's the dinner table where we all get to butt in, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll
my
be
apologies.
entertaining.
What were you going to say?
Here you go.
Oh, hello. How are you?
I'll just sit here with my dog, right?
No, what were you going to say? That was being silly. I was just being silly, Tony.
I was waiting for you to say.
What was I going to say? Sure, since the spotlight's on me, why not? Tony Ann puts it, and one thing that I remember once this lady, one of Mum's friends, did a past life thing, and it was, and then I went into my own state where I did it on my own experience, and I was trying to work out the relationship between me and my dad because it was quite tumultuous. I'll get that pronunciation right later on after the show, maybe. And basically, what it was it was a very up and down thing, and there was always a thing of trying to gain acceptance, but there's always a lot of forgiveness on my part. And somehow, Tony, and it went into this one here where I got this vision where it was sort of like in World War II of some sort of World War One, it could have been World War One, and my dad shot me, basically. And I had to forgive him, and I didn't forgive him, and it was somehow in this life I had to forgive him for who he was. That was as simple as that got, ladies. Now I don't know if there's any truth in that because it was a moment on my own, Tonia. But you know what? It made me accept things for what they were in a simpler way. There was moments I didn't speak to Dad for 10 years and and terrible things would have happened, et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, like in the last year or so, it was like going to confession. In the last year of my life, we made up and we lived happily ever after. So it was fantastic. So it was interesting. It's interesting how you say you can happen on your own and it's good bit of advice there, Avichka. I mean, Tony Ann, but I think sometimes you want that validation of that tripped out thought, if we can call it a trippy thought. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, absolutely. But that's something that I would be inclined to do is do it for yourself. And then if you want validation, go and see somebody and you'll be blown away when they repeat a lot of what you've already picked up.
That's
a great way
that's a good. Yeah, I like that, Tom.
It's a great way to build trust and in yourself. And it's a really big thing. And I know sometimes I've got a couple of clients that will message me like, they have regular readings, but they're like, oh my God, what do you think of this house? Or, there'll be questions of I'm not sure about this. And I'm like, I'm empowering you to make that decision and not depend on me, because we all have the ability to know exactly what the answer is for ourselves. But we tend to, I think as part of our human existence, we tend to want to get validated by somebody else.
Yeah.
And, and I think that's part of our evolution as humans is to learn to really trust what is within us because we always have the answers.
Yeah. Do you know what you guys, all of you that are psychics on this, you could make extra money here where you go, do you want an answer? That's an extra $40 and then just pause.
Here's my PayPal account.
No, you want cash. And wait till they slide $40 across the table and go, well, yes, I think you should buy the house. But, and then always end up with a but, and then just finish it. And they go, but what? And I go, that's another $40.
Oh my
I think
God.
you spiritual people could make a fortune on this one. How much was your reading the other day?
Would advertise that as with fortune tellers.
Yeah. And they go, how much was your session the other day with the clairvoyant? You go, well, it was $740. Like it started off at $12, but shit just happened. It was worth it though. I got the answer I needed. I know. Anita puts in a nice one here. Yep, no conflict. Empathetic me. I had an itching. Say, can you see Anita's there?
Yeah.
I had an itching reading, and I used to run with the wolves in the pack, and I lost myself. I broke away from the pack, and I've learnt to slay in my own lane, or stay in my own lane, and just be the real, genuine me. Ooh, read into this, Tonia Reeves. Go on.
Yeah, interesting. So part of the reading was showing that obviously in a past life that she'd run with the wolves. In other words, getting in amongst everyone and running in that same direction rather than standing at ground and being who she, her own individual self. So having an understanding of that would be able to help you navigate this lifetime to know that, standing on your own 2 feet and in your power is where the gold is. And obviously Anita's worked that out, which is pretty cool because
It's
often,
very
we are,
powerful.
yeah, but humans are designed to be in communities, are designed to be, have a pack or have a, that connection with others is part of
Yeah.
our, you would know that the ins and outs more about that, Tony, than me.
What that being connected is important.
Well, but no, isn't it like a sense of community, or as humans, isn't that part of our, we're
We're
not meant to be
designed.
isolated, is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
we're designed to coexist. We're designed to, and and there's been experiments around that where newborn infants have been left to total isolation without any human contact or anything like that, and they died within the first year of life. And so that's one of the cruelest experiments ever done. But yeah, we are designed to coexist. It really, really is important.
That was a cool experiment. It cost a couple of lives, but it was pretty cool.
It was done in, if anybody's interested in it was in a Romanian orphanage. What happened was, I think after World War One, in World War Two, they were saying in Romania, they said, let's have more children so we can build bigger armies. Basically, that was the nuts and bolts of it. So mums and dads were going out and having 5, 6, 7 kids, and they couldn't afford to feed them, so they put them into orphanages, and that's where they had this overflow of orphanages in Romania, and they had way too many kids. And that's where the experiment came from. It was quite, they had 50 babies in one room and 50 in another, and 50 of them were touched, held, caressed, picked up, fed properly, etc., etc. And the other ones were fed intravenously, had no human connection whatsoever, no eye contact with others, etc., etc. Very, very devastating thing, and I think it was 80 or 90% of those infants died within the first 2 years from that. So it's terrible. Yeah. Geez, Natasha, we did, you sort of did, Tash, you did bring up sort of like being together and connected, and that was a natural progression to go into past lives now, wasn't it? So thanks, Tash. Go on.
Tony has, but I've met people in this life who also remember me from a past life, and I remember them. One was an old Roman man who said we could marry now as our relationship in Roman times ended with me being stoned to death. Ouch. And another lady who accused me of wrecking this life for her because I suicided in front of her in my past life. Interestingly, that was my very first past life experience, a suicide during Prohibition. Wow.
Wow. How did that impact you, Tony? And that's pretty, the first one that was interesting. I thought that was just a pickup line. But the second one's a bit, yeah, that would have hit. I'd like to know how that impacted you, Tony. And the second one, the suicide one's really interesting. Really interesting. Here you go. Ivichka puts in, wow, Tony, was a past life that you might have to make peace with them, and I can relate with my mum. Yeah, it's interesting on that one there, isn't it, Ivichka? So it sounds like you've got the same sort of relationship with your mum there, Ivichka, to a degree. I'm having that relationship, and there was that energy that we're not from this lifetime, and that helped me knowing that. Yeah, that's a pretty good one. You know what's interesting, Ton? It brings me back to Ivichka. You'd be interested in this one here. If Tonia, you had that client of ours that came in when you came into up at Human Repair Shop and you did the mediumship show. And we had a client whose mum was in the background and had passed, and they had a really rough relationship. Do you remember that? that she
Yes.
favored the
Yes.
son and neglected the daughter.
Yes.
And there was a lot of anger on both sides. But let's run through that one, because Avichka, I think that's an interesting one, because I think there's some parallels in that. So what do you remember from that one, Ton? I know I'm asking you a lot here.
Yeah, I'm trying to recall. That one was
She
really
was in the
pivotal because
background.
it was quite an emotional, as as most of the connections are, but there was a lot to unpack with that, because the mother came in and she was very, because she wasn't the first spirit that came in for that lady. So I think, I know it was a grandfather first. I can't remember that, but there was somebody else that came in first. A dad.
It was her dad that was just very close to.
Yes. So the dad came in, and then the mum was just standing back, and she was very, I could feel it was like she knew she had to come forward, but there was this hesitancy with her. And that's when she kind of stepped forward gingerly, but she put her hand up to say how sorry she was about how she treated her daughter, and, really took ownership and came through with that, like a really powerful apology on the fact that, yes, she did favor the son. And, looking at it from the spirit world, she realizes she could have done a lot better. And she did then go on to explain she'd had trauma, which, she wasn't trying to justify how she was, but she did say, there was that acknowledgement from the mum that she did the best she could, but with her upbringing. And then it was lovely later on that night when the lovely lady came and spoke to me, and she was like, Mum was a Holocaust survivor.
Yep.
So, but the power with that, and, not all spirits will come through apologizing. Some will say, oh, yeah, maybe I didn't do a great job, or maybe could have done better, but it is what it is. Whereas she wanted to hand that apology very strongly. And there was no, as much as she was reluctantly coming forward, because she felt bad. And I could pick that with her. She felt bad coming forward, and she felt responsible for the way she treated her daughter. So she wanted to, offer her that as I am sorry. And, those are really powerful moments, because they're not something you can, always have that opportunity to have that, a little bit of closure for her. And you could, it was her partner that said to me, he said, you don't realize what the impact that has had for her, just you saying that will be massive.
Yeah, exactly. It is. And I wonder if you can read, if that resonates with you, Vichka. It's interesting, isn't it? Because there was acknowledgement that I stuffed up as a spirit, like in spirit format,
Yeah.
and apparently her mum, I think her mum was Hungarian background. So that news, when Tonia did that actually went back to Hungary, and it made the front page of the newspaper saying, Hungarian mother apologizes first time to a child.
It was the first.
And now in breaking news from Sydney, Australia. They're still talking about it now.
It'll go down in the history book.
It's written in folklore. Don't you worry. Tony Ann's got an interesting
Look,
one.
it's, and we all do the best we can. I always say, and it is really about sometimes, and even Avichka, the struggles that you have. But again, we go back to, we choose our parents. I'm shown that over and over in the spirit world. We choose who we connect with. And when we look at it that way and go, okay, I've chosen, and logically you go, why would I choose parents like that, for God's sake? But they're part of this learning experience you're having. So when we look at it like that and go, you chose those parents for a reason. And yes, for many of us, that can be a really a shit decision. We look at it and go, my God. But in actual fact, if you can look at it from a space of, you did choose them, so take that responsibility and go, okay, what can I bring forward with this?
Yep.
So,
which is quite. Tony Ann's got a really interesting one. She talks about the thought of her suiciding in a past life. I'll go for that one. That was a really interesting one. Thanks for sharing this, Tony Ann, in advance. That's really super cool what you've done here.
It is, and it sort of opens the way for many on this feed to look at, okay, what past lives or what things can we be hanging on to? And often with past lives, these are subconscious things. So when you start to delve in, you'll have a better understanding of self and why you do things. So Tony Ann's put here, what was fascinating was I relived or rediscovered the prohibition suicide while I was in a relationship that had similar energies in the now. I went home and within 48 hours let go of my relationship, my business. We were also business partners, everything. Within a few months, I was homeless and has fully reset my life. Wasn't going to do that again, meaning I could see the same road as the regression and I wasn't going there again. So that's powerful. Like, that's a massive awakening.
That's one. When I read that, Tony Ann, because I don't swear on this show, I said, truck me. That has just blown my mind. Now that, to make a major life decision, 2 major life decisions, and going off energy, which is just absolutely, I love what you've done, Tony Ann, here, because you picked up a vibe, you picked up a pattern. There was something that went, you're going down the same path as before. Now that's normally, you know, Tonia, you know yourself and everybody else on this feed, we'll call it intuition. There's just something not right. Yeah. Because, and you know, then the thing is, I've got to get out. There was no let's fix it and make it better sort of scenario, right? Because she's most probably tried that before. Forget about it. And sometimes you got to, you know, as we've said before, you got to know when to hold them. You got to know when to fold them. Tony Ann definitely folded on this one. And Tony Ann, what is amazing and inspiring about this, people around you would have said you were crazy and nuts. What are you doing? Throwing in your relationship and your business at the same time. This is insane. Just get through it. Just grind through it. But there was something within you that drove you through it. And that's what I'm absolutely Does that spin you out as well, Tonia?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. And just the resonance and the recognition, because for many, they wouldn't probably have had that, Tonia, and they might have gone through and gone, oh, that was a terrible experience, and not, you know, had that switch flicked on, which is pretty cool.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. Kim talks about a past life in a different way. She goes, I'm sure I would have worked in the first Holden factory making the best cars for racing. See, do you know, you would have made, Kim, you would have made the early Monaros. One of my favorite is the HT. But in saying that, they were crap at Bathurst. You had the XY Falcon ripping it up. The XU1 came in, did okay. Good old Valiant Charger, whereas it behind us used to kick your butt. You weren't a good racing team back in the day, Tim. The Fords dominated. Then the XB came out, and that absolutely kicked its butt over, and the Falcon. So, Kim, you know
Great
what?
answers, Tony. I'm impressed. I'm going to play this back for Andrew. He's going to be so proud of you.
Look, just Kim, you're the reason why Holden went bad. Okay, you know what?
Oh, I love Kim. Kim, you put a smile on our dial. We love it.
Yep. Absolutely. And you know the problem is, when the XU1 came out, you guys tried to copy the Valiant Charger, where we used Webers on use and on triple Webers on the carburetors. You guys used SUs, which was a cheaper version of the Weber and didn't actually work. And that's why the XU1s weren't as good as a 265. But Kim, that was a design thing. And if you designed that, you should have went to Italy, got the Webers put on there. You would the XU1 would have been a much better race car. It was better from a weight perspective and evenly balanced. Yes,
they were little. Yeah,
they were little, but you got it wrong, Kim. You got it wrong. Next week's program, we're going to be talking about
how to put together a race car
in the 80s.
Well, I think next time you do a rally, Tony, we're coming on the rally. Like, we want to. We want live.
I don't think I'll do another one.
Live stream.
I don't know if we'll do another one. Or let's not talk about that. It's like somebody who's had 5 kids and they go, let's have a 6th one. No, I don't want to. No. All right.
Well, we're nearly out of time. So what are we going to wrap up with, Tony? You're going to choose a conversation that...
Oh, geez, I'm not good at that.
Tonia will take 3 hours to read through them, let alone...
Yeah, because I get involved, Tonia. I don't just read it as in like, what's good clickbait. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. And then I get involved in the comment. I go, oh, wow. Oh,
I've already read it and moved on. And Tony's like, now let's go back to that one. What?
Yeah.
That was 6
exactly.
months ago.
I know, but it's amazing, right? Well, in my head, you know that tin can that goes around? It goes around quick. It goes, whoa, wow, what was that? Just totally spins out. Oh, Rachel's got something nice. Been sleeping with my wisdom tooth extracted process and hurts and see taken much longer to heal.
Oh,
Please
no.
send. Oh,
We will
okay.
send you healing, Rach. Oh, pain. I hope you haven't
Rachel,
got a dry socket.
does C stand for what I think it does?
No, I think it's meant to be has.
Okay, cool. We're good. Everybody just zen like now. Let's.
We're sending you
Sorry,
healing,
Rach.
Rach. Nothing more painful than teeth, but make sure you haven't got a dry socket because that would be massive pain, and you need to get antibiotics if that's the case. And I didn't know that because I have had dentists in the family that were like, that's if it's hurting longer than it should, just be aware of that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
salt water
Infection, all that
gargle.
kind of stuff. Yeah, good
Yeah.
advice, Tonia Reeves. Very good. Let's end on that. Let's everybody collectively send Rachel some beautiful healing energy, some loving energy so she can feel a little bit better. And you like to bring up Tonia. All great comments. Say, guys, super, but go on. You're going to say, Tonia.
I think this is a great wrap up for today. We create our journey, all of it, make it fun. We've just had eclipses. We've just had the full moon. There's a lot of stuff going on energetically around us. So let's be grounded and go, you know what? Let's bring it back to, does it bring us joy? If it brings us joy, say yes. So this week's all about saying yes to joy, everyone. And I think that's a great message. Thank you, Tony Ann. Brilliant wrap up. Let's get out there and have some fun. And,
Exactly.
tag us. Get some photos of having fun. Tag us,
Yep.
TNT. We'd love to be part of your fun week ahead. So let's do that. Yay. All right,
That's probably
everyone.
the best wrap up you've ever had, Tonia. Seriously, on a scale of 1 to 10, that was 11. That was pretty good. You know, when you were saying like the intro wasn't that good, this wrap up was brilliant. This was really good. That was great. It was really good. Can't wait for next week.
I'm good at the end result.
You're good. Very good. Yeah.
All right. See you next week, everybody, and have a wonderful week. And we will catch you all on the flip. Bye for now.